We start this morning, however, with a gentleman we have had here before. He is no stranger to many fathers, and he will continue to be more and more intimately involved with them depending on where they are. And my general feeling is, even if they are in stable situations, they should get to know him because there's a lot to learn from him. He is Rondell Fields. He is the founder of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, starting out the morning this Sunday. Rondell, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks for having me as usual, Rennie.
It's good to have you here because single fathers and the role they play, it stays in focus, the whole question of Father's Day, just around the corner. But before we get there, I wanted us to deal with all the difficult parts of it, and particularly this morning, want to put some emphasis on the whole issue of the courts. But let us just lay out for our listeners so they are clear. The primary purpose of your advocacy group, which is Single Fathers Association, is to raise national awareness in an attempt to put an end to the injustice meted out to children who have been forcibly estranged from their fathers. It also deals with the question of the culture that we have. It deals with the attitude of fathers. It deals with the rites of passage, or the so-called perceived rites of passage and stuff like that. That's what we're going to talk about. A culture that does not put a premium on fatherhood is the area we want to start, because it comes to the question of education. Your organization's been in existence for exactly how long?
4 years this year.
4 years this year. And I'm sure about how many a percentage of the people who have come before you, you have seen a want, you have seen a need for them to be totally educated as to what is a father or the role of a father on a scale of 100%. What percentage would you say come before you? They come to you in trouble. Right. But when they start telling you the story, that you start seeing where the holes are.
Yeah, I would say a percentage of about 85% of them. I mean, not particularly per se the way their father or like fatherhood, but I mean, I would say particularly when they get to the court and knowing their rights and knowing what they need to do and knowing what, I mean, the things that the services that are out there.
Yeah, but the culture is where I wanted to go first. It is not because they did something deliberately bad.
Exactly.
But because they're not aware of what their perception of what is the role of a father is twisted, and that I want to lay that avenue because it leads me back to education early.
Well, I would say generally, I would say the majority know their role and their importance of a father. Reason being, many of them, myself included, didn't have our fathers there for various reasons. Whether it be he was kept out because of a court order, whether it be that he wasn't there in the whole, for a number of reasons. So, I mean, many of the men today were actually the sons of yesterday that had no fathers there. Hence the reason we understand the importance of having a father around, because we totally understand what we lacked as boys.
Okay.
So, definitely, I will. Definitely, you would see that determination, that wanting to be involved. What do I need to do to get involved? And I mean, it's stacked up against the social culture saying, well, all right, father is to provide, mother is to nurture. So, I mean, so when you're bounced against that, I mean, you're seeing the change now where fathers are saying, all right, I'm a nurturer too. I wanna go beyond just bringing money. I wanna hold my son. I wanna hold him when he cry. I wanna cry with him together. So you're seeing that whole evolution as well, where fathers understand what they lacked as children.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that is where I wanted to get into the conversation. You see, there is a definition of manhood that's been handed down, particularly in the Caribbean context, that speaks to the father being the provider. And the provider, it does not include in general understanding of this passage, does not include being there, being emotionally there, being physically there. It just means that you are providing and you can say, hey, I'm doing my part.
And
that is it. That is a wall that I wanted to find out if of the percentage of men coming to you, whether they have surmounted that wall or they're still operating under the shade of that misconception.
They're way over that wall. 90% of the men have climbed that wall. Because I mean, they've experienced it. Most of us have experienced it. Even those who've had good fathers, they understand the importance of what the difference their father made in their life. But I'd say we understand fatherhood. Most men understand their rules. I would say there was a percentage, and I mean, even with the formation of the association, we've even seen that percentage, that 10 or 15% that say, hey, I'm just here to provide. I'll pay how much ever money you want. I don't want anything to do with the child. I don't want no bacchanal, no court or whatever. It's your child, keep the child, I'll pay. Even that percentage is now understanding the joy of fatherhood, because we are now showing the joys of it. Like, per se, me right now, my son playing cricket and having the joy to be a part of that experience, be a part of that memory. When we speak about these things that we are experiencing as fathers, we are now opening their emotional appetite to want to know what these fathers are talking about. And I've had a number of fathers who would come to us and actually said that, hey, I pay maintenance religion. I've had a number of mothers as well who reach out to us and say, this man only pays maintenance. I want him to be more involved in the child's life. Yes, maintenance is one thing, but this child is asking for his father.
And that is where you are showing me something different. I'm not meaning to extract from you the answer I want to get. Yeah. I am, in fact, I may end up at the end of this conversation encouraged by what you're telling me, if in fact that is so, that there is a general understanding of the importance and the role that should be played by father outside of the stereotypical provide. If what you're telling me, is that indicative of your association, or you believe this is widespread, that generally those who become fathers now are aware of that all-inclusive involvement that's necessary? Because if from what you said that is so, it puts to lie what a lot of women say, mothers say about the part being kept by the fathers.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, I mean, even the guys in our association, these members of the society, the guys that call us for help, there are I would tell you, all right, this will sum it up. 80% of the calls that I receive from a father is for him to find a way to have access to his child. Not for him to, a way for him to get around paying a maintenance order. And that alone would say where his mind is. It means that obviously he understands he must play an emotional and a pivotal part of his child's life. It's not just passing money and giving money to the mother, or paying for tuition, or paying for dentist fees, or paying for doctor fees anymore. And I mean, even before I started Single Fathers Association, I had some workers who would say that, older guys, and they would say, boy, just give the lady she money, boy. You make any child, that is your child. You know if that is your child. So I realized that was a tradition or a belief or stereotype back in the days the older guys followed. But we were the children that suffered at that hand. And we understood that there's need for a difference. And I see the same thing emanating from fathers across Trinidad, Tobago, the United States of America. And you're seeing all these movements all throughout the world. Australia as well, they're very dominant in that as well. So, I mean, where fathers are now saying, I am not a sperm donor, I'm not an ATM machine. At the end of the day, I must have a bond with my child. So, as I tell you, 80% of the guys that call are guys that want to find a way to have access to their child.
Well, you started my morning in an encouraging note. That is good to know. I must ask of you then, because to go along with what I would be happy waving a banner for you with, I have to be a little clearer on a couple of things. Right. These people who are calling your organization, they call you with the understanding that this is the organization or association to call if you are unable to see your child, so it brings a certain clientele to you. And I should ask you also the size of the membership of those who call into your organization. So we get a good sense that these encouraging statements that you're making are in fact widespread.
Right. Well, the size of the registered size on paper is 2,000 people, right? Registered. One. The other aspect of this is a Facebook group where people are not registered, but they are very active. You understand? So, and I mean, if I were to, we'll have 2,000 registered members who come out, in other words, and register. But if I were to check phone calls received, it will be clear over 20,000.
I got you.
I'm just giving you a ballpark figure, the number of calls that I receive daily. So it's a lot to deal with. And that's me. You're talking about we have 6 other outreach officers. We're training right now in the European Union training. We're training 50 outreach officers right now. Because the 6 of us do not have the capacity. It's not enough of us to treat with this issue in Trinidad and Tobago. The number of people. So that alone should let you know the overwhelm. Some people call for a number of reasons. We even see fathers who have the children who say, boy, I'm an alcoholic. I want to stop this for my child. So it's not always a court issue as well, but it's always in some way the cause I've been receiving is for them to improve the way that they father, one, and for them to be able to father more than anything else.
Rondell Fields is the co-founder of Single Fathers Association. He's my guest this morning. The association organization is set up as an advocacy group for the rights of fathers, children primarily, their fathers by extension. The misunderstanding that we often hear from folks, and I assume that you would have heard many of those, is the case where mothers are using children in a relationship as leverage.
I mean, it's a sad thing when you speak about that, because I don't think people understand the emotional pull that has on your heart, on your mind. It stops you from being able to operate in any capacity, whether it's work-wise, whether it's anywhere at all. Because your child is something that you don't ever have an intention to break away from or break up with. You can't say, I'll break up with my child. At the end of the day, that connection, that bond you have with that child is something that you always want to improve, to grow, to encourage as time goes on. I mean, for them as well. And it's an emotional tug, particularly where you have a stumbling block in front of you. I mean, stumbling block because of whatever personal reasons. And that's why I always tell parents, I mean, fine, the intimate relationship didn't work. Be mature enough to have the parental partnership. Reason being, no matter what may have been done to you in the relationship, father or mother speaking to her both here, at the end of the day, you must understand and appreciate the relationship that the father has with the child, that the mother has with the child, and you must encourage that. Because at the end of the day, that is the child's mother, that is the child's father. And that's what we try to get people to focus on. Yes, you might say he was a bad husband to you, or you might say she was a bad wife to you. But was he a good father to the child? Was she a good mother to the child? And at the end of the day, you need to separate those relationships when you all separate. You can't say, well, all right, you did this to me, so I know you will do that to the child too, so don't see the child either. That's not your decision to make.
Question of counseling is something that's very important here. How many counseling agencies, your organization would double as that, I am clear, but how many counseling agencies and how accessible are they to the best of your knowledge?
I mean, what we've done is refer people sometimes like Family in Action and some of these groups. And I think that's not enough. I think sometimes even the institutions themselves have problems, like even like the Children Authority, the Child Protection Unit, they have problems finding groups as well that are trained to counsel, that are trained. Sometimes we use Alcoholics Anonymous, they are very good as well. Family in Action, they are good as well. They always answer to the call when we get out there. So we found it prudent to really request training for our members so that we'll have our own internal counsel and conflict resolution mediation group. And the European Union, we must thank them again, the delegation in the European Union, they give us a sponsorship where this training is now available, and we're training 50 people because we need as many people as possible. What our intention is, and I made this suggestion to the last Prime Minister, and no one ran off with it, not even this one is listening also. People need counsel, and sometimes they just can't pay for it. So what we need to do is make it accessible to them. Yes, there are groups out there that do it, but if they know there's someone in their community that they could go out to in their little privacy, they will do it. I guarantee you so. They find me wherever I am, so I know they will find someone if they know there's a SFAT agent in the community center on Wednesday to Thursday or Wednesday to Friday at 3 o'clock. They're going to go there. They're going to ask for assistance. They're going to go. And this is what our intention is with this 50 people. We already have the outreach on phone. We're going to have it a social hub on the internet. Also, you can get us online. You're going to be able to reach out to us at the community centers as well. We'll have outreach officers at different stations at different times so that you could go in and let's help diffuse some of that stress in the community, because it's a lot. It's a lot of stress when you have these issues. Sometimes you go to collect your child and you have an event planned. You know how many calls I got this weekend with dads who have court orders? This happens a lot on a long weekend where the moms and the dads always end up in an altercation. Reason being, somebody wants to go America, somebody wants to go Canada, somebody wants to go Tobago, and the other person has the order for that weekend. And you say, well, all right, you see me, I want to go, so I go in. And then one person disappears with the child. And then the child is torn in between two places. Because yes, the child may want to go as well. So it's a place where the parents now must be able to meet and sit and say, hey,